Yo, 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 what is going on, IK Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today we are back again, finally, to be giving you some, well, updates, if you will, on some sneak peeks from the new version 2.2 update that is going to be dropping from what we recently found out here on June 23rd. That's it, if I can do some math correctly, 15 days. And then we are going to be getting the patch notes here that are going to be released on June 17th. So about 6 days before? So essentially 9 days from now, a little over a week, less than a week and a half, we will be having some patch notes to take a look at. And they shot us some 2.2 highlights that we're going to go over. And then I also want to touch on what some of my hopes are for how opportunities could still be there for turning things around. Just something that I would imagine most, if not many, are hoping for. Okay, before we get started, as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you sub, like, ring the notification bell, and of course, if you want to join our conversation, hit up the Discord, link to that in the description, pinned comment below. Okay, so let's scroll down here, and there's a few things to unpack. So it starts out by saying Lacosta is here to let you know the highlights of this update: Mercantile Path, Wisdom Palace, custom alliance permissions, weird face, I know, and fully upgraded artifact system is coming. So 4 big things there, however, only showed us 3 of them when it comes to images here on the highlight. And then I'm also going to touch on some of the comments. Maybe we'll read through some of those as well, just to see. So the first one here, let's talk about Mercantile Path. So I'm going to blow up the image here just so we can take a little bit closer look at it. I don't know if I could full screen if that's really going to change anything. It really doesn't. Okay. So Mercantile Path, right, it looks as though you have a percentage and you have to get whether this is your march, all your marches, maybe it's fighting along the way to make sure that you can stave off. Maybe it's a constant fight that happens and you have to maybe beat back to back PvE marches, and you just have to basically survive in a way to maybe protect the cart to get to its destination. This could be something interesting. Someone also hinted that maybe this could be off of something that's maybe connected to Evernight Labyrinth, or Mysterium in short. So I could possibly see that. This to me presents itself as more of like a protect the cargo type of an event, or something that could be the case. Again, maybe it's another version of a dungeon or a minigame like Mysterium that you're doing. But if it is a new event, and it does allow for more rewards to be acquired, I don't think that is necessarily a bad thing. I will make a brief point that I do think, based on where the game is currently, it is hard and challenging to try and ask the devs to quote-unquote remove things, rather than it is to modify or to add things that can compensate, just as a side note. Then we get to the second one here, which is Wisdom Palace. Now, there's not a lot that they're giving us, because the area that they're hitting on is the kind of governor's area, right? That's where we get to see all of the cities. You get to see the capitals. You get to see mayor titles and who has those. So this is interesting. I'm not sure if they're going to be switching this up or maybe adding a second tab to it when you go in. But Wisdom Palace is curious because it leads me to believe, okay, are they trying to add in maybe more stats into the game? Are they trying to give information on maybe just building kingdoms or something that's more kingdom related for the kingdom you're specifically playing in? Are they just trying to give good tips and feedback or pieces of information? All right, there's a couple areas that we can go off of to infer, at least as much as we can, to see how this may play out for what it would be. I'd be curious to know what any of you think that the Wisdom Palace may be in that regard. But again, based on what I'm looking, it's either going to be a repurposing, changing completely, adding another tab, or maybe something else. It's just, I guess, interesting. There's just not a lot here, right, that we can kind of think about more. And then the third to the last one is upgraded artifact system. This is, again, what it looks like. It's giving us a couple different, what seems to be, artifact icons to go off of. And it also says here a fully upgraded artifact system is coming. So I wonder if that means it's going to be a little bit easier to kind of go through the upgrading process. Close the pen, please. Okay. This girl's going to write over everything. Lady's not going to be happy. With that in mind, we will see how this plays out. I think the hope for me when it comes to the artifact system is I would love for the artifact system to be just a little more simplified. Even though you could make the argument it just would be nice for things to be a little bit more detailed as well, where you're telling people, hey, this is what you have to do with the artifact. If it's just like a simple step-by-step guide or an infograph that maybe they plug there, similar to how they've done other things in areas, that would be nice. An example I'll give you is when you're looking at the conquest seasons, right? When a new season comes out, a pop-up comes out before you go or when the next KVK season is going to hit, and it'll tell you these are the new things that are being added, right? It's like this interactive, just little pop-up, that interface that you can use. Do something like that for the artifact system and just say, hey, this is what you start off with. These are all the areas you can go and get these materials. Here's how you do the upgrade process. Something very simple like that would be nice, along with allowing for more options, whether that's more events, more things to do, more ways to acquire artifacts for the free-to-play. There's just not enough right now, and it just takes way too long, arguably as long as it probably takes to get a max march for free-to-play, which is just a bit too long. There just needs to be more ways, I believe, to speed that up a bit. Then we get to the last one here, and this is what's really interesting for me. It says custom alliance permissions. Now, does that mean that they're going to add permission options? Are they going to allow for you to give officers specific permissions? Will you allow for players to get specific permissions? Will you allow for things to be done when it comes to the custom group chats that you can set up? Will it allow for you to automatically add players to group chats that join the alliance? That's something we've asked for a while now. Interesting to see them put that in there, and I am curious to see where that goes, even if this is just a few highlight things. What I will say lastly, I have no idea what she's doing. What I will say lastly is that again, I will always pay attention to updates and patch notes when they're coming out because, for me, I'm really hoping that we're going to get something, that things are that maybe we'll get a few more bones that'll be thrown to where we'll actually see a nice healthy pile. And back to what I said in the beginning, I think it's important for us to recognize where we are currently, right? The fact is that the game currently, not to redundantly use that word, for a good amount of people has just stagnated. Mainly because of a few of the recent updates that have hit and the fact that it just takes so long. It does take a long time to hit a max march, to get max artifacts. There's just not enough ways in the game currently to either acquire them or the current events don't pay out enough. And I'm more of the mindset that I'd like to see multiple events be made available or created so you can have multiple options and ways of getting these materials, right? Where you're essentially having to invest your time to get the materials, which means it's longer that you're spending in the game. I've always felt that there has to be a good, risk reward there where you are investing more of your time to get more rewards compared to the people who are spending money. Because the whole point of spending money, really in the shortest form of it, is so you don't have to spend a lot of time in game. On the contrary, or on the other side, there should be more than enough things to do in game where the average free-to-play or grinder can max out everything in the game on average, more so than someone who is spending a lot of money, right? Because most of the time, if you're spending a lot of money, the average high spender, maybe even mid spender to a degree, may not be able to invest as much time as someone who has 8, 10, 12 hours a day to just be on the game doing things. And so there needs to be enough things happening in the game where you can click or you can spend that amount of time actually in the game doing things, not just going around and socializing, but progressing to where you're getting rewards and you're acquiring these things. And that needs to be something. The fact is it just takes a long time to hit a higher castle level now. It takes a long time to hit one max troop. It takes a long time just to get one max skill, heck, one max artifact. These are things that it takes a while for the free-to-play to do. And the fact is not everyone is going to be a heavy grinder. And that's something that I think developers should really bank on and just have a good understanding that if you add a lot of these things in for people to do, it's going to give them a more of a reason to, one, keep playing, well, just to play in general, but two, retain themselves playing the game and keep themselves invested in the game, right? You eventually want to allow people to get to max level, not where it takes them 5 years to do so, right? That's a turnoff. But allowing, because you have to think about, there's always going to be new people playing the game. You need to have a healthy base of players that have maxed out, even if it's in single areas of where not in single areas, but where they've maxed out one thing at minimum in all areas, where they have that to show, hey, this is how long it takes, this is what I was able to do. And it also allows for a lot of testing to actually happen. When you think about at the late game meta, it's more people that you can do that with, and that's something that's also important. All right, with that being said, that puts me at about a little over 12 minutes now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video of me just sharing my thoughts on what my views are for the highlights, along with some things that I think could be, I don't know if I want to say added in, but just reworked maybe in areas, I guess, and/or added in, that I think would also help when it comes to how we can approach and look at future version updates for the game to really get back on track. Because as I said, I don't think the right approach right now is to remove things. That's, I would imagine, very difficult or challenging for a developer to do. But I do think making amendments and changing things or adding new things can help to compensate for where the game is currently going in. And shockingly enough, I still have a little faith in the game, albeit that faith is diminished a good amount, but I'm still happy to see what will be coming out in a future update. Again, I will say they are a few quality features and updates, a few quality features and inclusions away from me potentially being interested in doing another jump project or a big project to go to a new kingdom. And I would say some bug fixes away too as well. But again, that's probably for another time. That is it for me. I know I said I was going to try and read some comments, but I know we're kind of already getting here now to almost about 14 minutes. So with that in mind, let me know what any of you think. Please give me a comment, give me a post there in that section down below. Right? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think about the highlights for some of the new features that are coming out? And then lastly, what do you think they are? If you line up with where I'm going with it, if you think something else, let me know now. Let me know down there if I can speak and use words correctly today. That's it for me. Until next time, I will catch y'all later.